Stannery was a very long time ago. It's very heavy in some parts. And I had to take a break. I thought we'd read a story together. You might hear some birds in the background. I think there's some parents near me who are, I don't know, either having a conversation or having a fight. Like they're having a fight, but they're probably not. It could be sometimes. Something sounds more aggressive than it actually is. Okay. Yesterday was Monday. Wait, it was Sturgeon. Harry Wright rolled over and said something spelled bizarre. He chewed a bit on a mouthful of dry air and spat it out, opened an eye to see if it really would open, opened the other and closed the first, closed the second, swung his feet onto the floor, opened them again and stretched. This was a daily occurrence, and the only thing that ever made it remarkable at all was he did it on a Wednesday morning, and yesterday was Monday. Oh, he knew it was Wednesday, alright. It was partly that, even though he knew yesterday was Monday. My stomach is incredibly loud. There was a gap between Monday and now. That must have been Tuesday. When you fall asleep and lie there all night without dreaming, you know, when you wake up, the time has passed. You've done nothing that you can remember. You've had no particular thoughts, no way to gouge time, yet you know that some hours have passed. So it was with Harry Wright. Tuesday had gone wherever your 8 hours went last night, but he hasn't slept through Tuesday. Oh no, he never slept. As a matter of fact, more than 6 hours at a stretch, and there was no particular reason for him doing so now. Monday was the day before yesterday. He had turned in and slept his usual stretch. He'd awakened, and it was Wednesday. It felt like Wednesday. There was a Wednesdayish feel to the air. Harry pulled on his socks and stood up. He wasn't fooled. He knew what day it was. What happened to yesterday, he murmured. Oh, yesterday was Monday. That sufficed until he got his pajamas off. Monday, he mused, reaching for his underwear. It was quite a while back. It seems as though if he had been the worrying type, he would have stirred then and there. But he wasn't. He was an easygoing sort. The sort of man that gets himself into a rut and stays there until he is pushed out. That was why he was an automobile mechanic at $23 a week. That's why he'd been on for 8 years now, and would be from now on, if he could only find Tuesday and get back to work. Guided by his reflexes as usual, and with no mental effort at all, which was also usual, he finished washing, dressing, and making his bed. His alarm clock, which never alarmed because he was at such irregular habits, said as usual 6:22 when he paused on the way out and gave his room the once over, and there was a certain something about the place that made even this like maniac character stop and think it wasn't finished. The bed was there, and the picture of Joe Louis. There was the 2 chairs sharing their usual 7 legs, the split table, the pipe organ bedstead, the beige wallpaper, and the 2 swans over and over and over, the teeny corner sink, the tilted bureau, but none of them were finished. Not that there were any holes in anything. What paint there had been in the first place was still there, but there was an odour of old cut lumber, a inescapable, and Harry Wright stood caught up in it, wondering. He glanced suspiciously around, but saw nothing he could really be suspicious of. He shook his head, locked the door, and went out onto the hall. On the steps, a little fellow, just over 3 feet tall, was gently stroking the third step from the top with a razor-sharp chisel, shaping up a new scar in the dirty wood. He looked up as Harry approached and stood up quickly. "Hi," said Harry, taking in the man's leather coat, his peaked cap, his wizened, bright-eyed little face. "What you doing?" "Touch up," piped the little man. The actor in the third floor front has a nail in his right heel. He came in late Tuesday night and cut the wood there. I have to get it ready for Wednesday. This is Wednesday, Harry pointed out. Of course, always has been, always will be. Harry let that pass, started on down the stairs. He had achieved his amazing magnanimity by making a practice of ignoring things he could not understand, but one thing bothered him. "Did you say that fellow in the third floor front was an actor?" "Yes, they're all actors, you know." "You're nuts, friend," said Harry bluntly. "That guy works on the docks." "Oh yeah, that's his part, that's what he acts." "No kidding. What does he do when he isn't acting?" "But that's all he does do. That's all any of the actors do." "Gee, I thought he looked like a regular guy too," said Harry. "An actor, imagine." "Excuse me," said the little man, "but I've got to go back to work. We mustn't let anyone get us by, you know. They'll be through Tuesday before long, and everything must be ready for them." Harry thought, "This guy's crazy nuts." He smiled uncertainly, and went down to the landing below. When he looked back, the man was cutting skillfully into the stair, making a neat little nail scratch. Harry shook his head. This was a screwy. Morning. He'd be glad to get back to his shop. There was a 39-cent hand down there with a bust of beer. Spring. Once he got his mind on that, he could forget this nonsense. That's all that matters to a man in a rut. Work, eat, sleep, payday. Why even try to think anything else out? The street was a riot of activity, and then it always was, but not quite this way. There was automobiles and trucks and buses around aplenty, but none of them were moving, and none of them were quite complete. This was Harry's own field. If there was anything he didn't know about motor vehicles, it wasn't very important, and through that medium he began to get the general idea of what was going on. Swarms of little men who might have been twins of the one he'd spoken to were crowded around the cars, sidewalks, the stores in the building. All were working like mad with every tool imaginable. Some were touching up the finish of the cars with fine wire brushes, laying on networks of microscopic scratches and cracks. Some with ball beans and mallets were denting fenders skillfully, bending bumpers in an artful crash pattern, spider webbing safety glass windshield. Others were aging top dressing with high pressure needlepoint sand blasters. Still others were pumping dust into upholstery, sandpapering dashboard finished with a light switches, throttles, chokes to give a finger-worn appearance. Harry stood aside as a half-dozen of the workers scampered down the street, beating a fender which they riveted to a 1930 coupe. It was freshly blood-stained. Once awakened to this highly unusual activity, Harry stopped, slightly open-mouthed, to watch what else was going on. He saw the same process being industrially accomplished with the houses and stores. Dirt was being laid on plate glass windows over a coat of clear sizing. Woodwork was being cleverly scored and the paint peeled to make it look correctly weather-beaten, and dozens of leather-clad labourers were on the hands and knees, poking dust and dirt into the cracks between the paved blocks. A liner that went down the sidewalk, busily chewing gum and spitting out. They were followed by another crew who carefully placed the wards according to diagrams they carried and stand them flat. Harry set his teeth and muscles, his rocking brain into something like its normal position. I ain't never seen a day like this, or crazy people like this, he said, but I ain't gonna let it be any of my affair. I've got my job to get to. And trying vainly to ignore the hundreds of little hard-working figures, he went grimly on down the street. When he got down to the garage, he found no one there but more swarms of stereotype little people climbing over the place, dulling the paintwork, cracking the cement flooring, doing their hurried, efficient little task of aging. He noticed only because he was so familiar with the garage that they were actually making the marks that had been there as long as he'd known the place. Hell with it, he gritted, anxious to submerge himself into his own world of wrenches and grease guns. I've got my job. This is nothing of my affair. He looked over about him, wondering if he should clean these interlopers out of the garage. Nah, not his affair. He was hired to repair cars, not to police the joint. Long as they kept away from him, and of course animal caution told him he was far, far outnumbered. The absence of the boss and the other mechanics was no surprise to Harry. He always opened the place. He climbed out of the street clothes and into overalls, picked up a tool case and walked over the sedan, which he left up on the hydraulic rack. Yes, that's it, Monday night. And that is where Harry Light lost his temper. After all, the car was his job, and he didn't like having anyone else mess with the job he had started. So when he saw his job, his 39 sedan, resting steadily on the wheels over the rack, which was down under the floor, and when he saw that the rear spring was repaired, he began to burn. He dived under the car and ran deft fingers over the rear wheel suspension. In spite of his anger at his unprecedented occurrence, he had to admit to himself that the job had been done well. Might have done it myself, he murmured. A soft clang and a gentle movement caught his attention. With a roar, he reached out and grabbed the leg of one of the uniquest little men, wriggled out from under the car, caught his culprit by his leather collar, and dangled him at arm's length. What are you doing to my job? Harry bellowed. The old man tucked his chin to the front of his shirt to give a windpipe a chance and said, Why, I was just finishing up that spring job. Oh, so you were just finishing up that spring job, Harry whispered, choked with anger. Then at the top of his voice, Who told you to touch that car? Who told me? What do you? Well, it just had to be done, that's all. You'll have to let me go. I must tighten up those 2 bolts and lay some dust on the whole thing. You must what? You get within 6 feet of that car and I'll twist your head off your neck with a stilton. But it has to be done. You won't do it. Why, I ought to. Please let me go if I don't leave that car the way it was Tuesday night. Call the devil himself. I'm going to spread you on the sidewalk outside. And heaven help you if I catch you near here again. The little man's jaw set, his eyes narrowed, and he whipped his feet upwards. They crashed into Wright's jaw. Harry dropped him and staggered back. The little man began squealing, Supervisor, supervisor, emergency. Harry growled and started after him, but suddenly in the air between him and the midget workman, a long white man and a beard. The empty air was swept back, showing an aperture from the garage to blank, blind nothingness. Out of it stepped a tall man with a single loose-fitting garment, literally studded with pockets. The opening closed behind the man. Harry cowered before him. Never in his life had he seen such a noble, powerful features, such strength of purpose, such broad shoulders, such a deep chest. The man stood with his back of his hands on his hips, staring at Harry as if he were somebody forgot to sweep up. That seems the little man, surely. He's trying to stop me from doing the work. Who are you? Said the beautiful man down his nose. I'm the mechanic on this. Who wants to know? Adriel, supervisor of the district of Futura, wants to know. Where in hell did you come from? I did not come from hell. I came from Thursday. Harry held his head. What is all this? He wailed. Why is today Wednesday? Who are all these crazy little guys? What happened to Tuesday? Adriel made a slight motion with his fingers, and the little man scurried back under the car. Harry was frenzied to hear the wrench busily tightening bolts. He half started to dive after the little fellow, but Adriel said, "Stop." When Adriel said, "Stop," Harry stopped. This, said Adriel calmly, is an amazing occurrence. He regarded Harry with unemotional curiosity. An actor on stage before the sets are finished. Extraordinary. What stage? asked Harry. What are you doing here, anyhow? And what's the idea of all these little guys working around here? You ask a great many questions, actor, said Adriel. I shall answer them, and then I shall have a few to ask you. These little men are stagehands. I am surprised that you didn't realize that. They are setting the stage for Wednesday, Tuesday, that's going on and now. Ah, Harry snorted. How can Tuesday be going on when today's Wednesday? Today isn't Wednesday, actor. Today is Tuesday. Harry scratched his head. Met a fellow on the steps this morning, one of those stage hands of yours. He said it was Wednesday. It is Wednesday. Today is Tuesday. Tuesday is today. Today is simply the name for the stage which appears to be in use. Yesterday means the set that has been used. Tomorrow is the set that will be used after the actors have finished with today. This is Wednesday. Yesterday was Monday. Today is Tuesday. See? Harry said no. He drew up his long hands. My, you actors are stupid. Now listen carefully. This is Act Wednesday, scene 622. That means that everything you see around you here is ready for 6:22 a.m. on Wednesday. Wednesday isn't a time, it's a place. The actors are moving along toward it now. I see you don't get the idea. Let's see. Look at the clock. What does it say? Harry Wright looked up at the big electric clock on the wall over the compressor. It was correctly houred and highly accurate, and it said 6:22. Harry looked at it amazed. 6:20. But my gosh, man, that's what time I left the house. I walked here, and I've been here 10 minutes already. Adriel shook his head. You've been here no time at all, because there is no time until the actors make their entrances. Harry sat down on the grease drum and wriggled it up his brain with the effort he was making. You mean this time propositioned ain't something that moves along all the time, sort of well like a road. A road don't go no place. You just go places along it. Is that it? That's the general idea. In fact, that's a pretty good example. Suppose we say that it's a road, a highway built of paving blocks. Each block is a day. The actors move along it and go through it day after day. And our job here, mine and the little men, is to pave that road. This is the cleanup going here. They are fixing up the little details so that everything will be ready for the actors. Harry sat still, his mind creaking with the efforts of this information. He felt as if he'd been hit with a lead pipe, and the shock of it was being drawn out indefinitely. This was the craziest sounding thing he'd ever run into. For no reason, all he remembered a talk he had once with a drunken aviator mechanic Ed's discourse, which was all about eddies and chords and campers and foils, timbrels, and the Bernoulli effect. It didn't make any difference that things flew whether he understood how or not. He knew that before he'd seen them, the sky Idril's lecture was the same sort of thing. There was nothing at all that said, how come all these little guys were working around here? Why wasn't the clock telling the time? Where was Tuesday? He thought he'd get this straight for good or all. Just where is Tuesday? He asked. Over there, said Idril, and pointed. Harry recoiled and fell off the drums, for when the man extended a hand, it disappeared. Harry got off the floor and said tautly, do that again. What? Oh, point towards Tuesday, certainly. And he pointed. His hand appeared again when he withdrew it. Harry said, my gosh, and sat down again on the drum, sweating and staring up at the supervisor of the district of Futura. You point, your hand ain't. He breathed. What direction is that? It is a direction like every other direction, said Israel. You know what? Yourself, there are 4 directions, forward, sideward, upwards, and he pointed again, and again his hand vanished that way. They never told me that in school, said Harry. Of course, I was just a kid, and then, but Idril laughed. It is the 4th dimension. It is duration. The actors move through length, breadth, and height, anywhere but there is another movement, one that can't be controlled, and that is duration. How soon will they come here? Asked Harry, weaving an arm. Idril dipped into one of his numberless pockets and pulled out a watch. It is now 8:37 Tuesday morning, he said. They'll be here as soon as they finish their act and the scenes in Wednesday have been prepped. Harry thought again for a moment, while Adriel waited patiently, smiling at a little. Then he looked up at the supervisor and asked, hey, this act of business, what's that all about? Oh, that, well, it's a play, that's all, just any play, put on for the amusement of an audience. I went to a play once, said Harry. Who's the audience? Adriel stopped smiling. Certain ones that may be amused, he said. And now I'm going to ask you some questions. How did you get here? Walked. You walked from Monday night to Wednesday morning? Nah, from the house to here. Ah, but how did you get to Wednesday, 6:22? Well, I just woke up and came to work as usual. This is an extraordinary occurrence, said Israel, shaking his head in puzzlement. You'll have to see the producer. Producer? Who's he? You'll find out. In the meantime, come along with me. I can't leave you here. You're too close to the play. I have to make my rounds anyway. Israel walked out towards the door. Harry was tempted to stay and find himself some work to do. When Israel glanced back at him and motioned him out, Harry followed. It was suddenly impossible to do anything else. Just as he caught up with the supervisor, a little worker ran away, whipping off his cap. Idril, sir, he piped. The weather makers put .006 of 1% into little moisture in the air on this set. There's 3/17 of an ounce too little gasoline in the storage tanks under here. How much is in the tanks? 4,273 gallons, 3 pints, 7 and 21/34 ounces. Adriel grunted. Let it go this time. That was very sloppy work. Someone's going to get transferred to limbo for this. Very good, sir, said the little man. As long as you know we're not responsible. He put on his cap, spun about 3 times and rushed off. Lucky for the weather makers, the amount of gas in the tank doesn't come into Wednesday's script, said Idril. If anything interferes with the continuity of the play, there's the devil to pay. Actors haven't sense enough to cover up either. They're liable to start a whole series of nuance. Because of a little thing like that, the play might flop and then they'll be out of work. Oh, Harry, Idril. What's the idea of that patchy-looking place over there? Idril followed her edge of the lot and around the patch that ran diagonally through it. The space in between were a plain surface. Not a leaf, nor a blade, nor a grass grew there. It was naked looking, blank, and absolutely without any colour whatsoever. "How's that?" answered Israel. "There are only two characters in Act when they will use that path. Therefore it is grown over as it should be. The rest of the lot doesn't enter into the place, so we don't have to do anything with it." "But suppose someone wandered off the path on Wednesday," Harry offered. "He'd be due for a surprise, I guess, but it would hardly happen. Special prompters always detailed at spots like that to keep the actors from going astray or missing any cues." "Who are they, the prompters, I mean?" "Prompters, GAs, guardian angels. That's what script writers call them." "I heard of them," said Harry. "Yes, they have their work cut out for them," said the supervisor. "Actors always forgetting their lines when they shouldn't, or remembering them when the script calls for a lapse. Well, it looks pretty good here. Let's have a look on Friday." "Friday? You mean tell me you've been working on Friday already?" "Of course. Why, we work years in advance. How on earth do you think we could get out trees growing otherwise? Here, step in." Israel put out its hand, seized empty air, drew it aside to show that kind of absolute nothingness he had first appeared from, and waved Harry on. "You want me to go out in there?" said Harry differently. "Certainly. Hurry. Now." Harry looked at the section of void with a rather weak-kneed look, but could not withstand the supervisor's strange compulsion. He stepped inside, and it wasn't so bad. There was no whirling lights, no sensation of falling unconscious. It was just like stepping into another room, which what had happened, he found himself in a great round chamber, whose roundness was touched a bit with a it had curved walls and a dome roof, and there was something else about it. It seemed to stretch off in that direction, towards which Idril had so astonishingly pointed. The walls were lined with an amazing array of control machinery, switches and ground glass screens, indicators and dials, curled knots and levers. Moving deftly before them was a crew of men, each looking exactly like Idril, except that their garments had no pockets. Harry stood wide-eyed, hypnotized by the enormous complexity of the controls, and the ease with which the men walked among them. Idril touched his shoulder. "Come with me," he said. "The producer's in here now. We'll find out what to be done with you." They started across the floor. Harry had not quite time to wonder how long it would take them to cross the enormous room, but when they had taken perhaps a dozen steps, they found themselves at the opposite wall. The ordinary laws of space and time simply did not appear in the place. They stopped at a door of burnished bronze, so very highly polished that they could see through it. It opened, and Idril pushed Harry through. The door swung shut. Harry, panic-stricken lest he had separated from the only thing in this weird world he could begin to get used to, flung himself against the great bronze portal. It bounced him back, head over heels, into the middle of the floor. He rolled over and got up to his hands and knees. He was in a teeny room, one end of which was filled by a colossal teak wood desk. The man sitting there regarded him with amusement. "Where'd you blow in from?" he asked, and his voice was like angry bees sound of an approaching hurricane. "Are you the producer?" "Well, I'd be darned," said the man, and smiled. It seemed to fill the whole room with light. He was a big man, Harry noticed, but in this deceptive place there was no way of telling how big. "It'll be more very darned an actor. You're a persistent lot, aren't you? Building homes for me that I almost never go into. Getting together and sending requests for better parts. Listening carefully to what I have to say and then ignoring or misinterpreting my advice. Always asking for just one more chance, and when you get it, messing up the two. And now one of you crashes the game. What's your trouble anyway?" There was something about the producer that bothered Harry, but he could not place what it was, unless it was the fact that the man awed him and didn't know why. "I woke up on Wednesday," he stammered, "and yesterday was Monday. He cleared his throat and started over. I went to sleep Monday night and woke up Wednesday, and I'm looking for Tuesday. What do you want me to do about it? Well, couldn't you tell me how to get back there? I've got work to do. Oh, I get it, said the producer. You want a favour from me. Someday one of you fellas is going to come up to me wanting to give me something free and for nothing, and then I'm going to drop quietly dead. Don't I have enough trouble running the show without taking up time and space for doing favours for the likes of you? He drew a couple of breaths and then smiled again. However, I've always tried to be just, even if it's a tough job sometimes. Go on out and tell Adriel to show you the way back. I think I know what happened to you. When you made your exit from the last act you played in, you somehow managed to walk out behind the wrong curtain when you reached the wings. There's going to be a prompt descent to limbo for this. Go on now, beat it. Harry opened his mouth to speak, thought better of it, and started out the door, which opened before him. He stood in the huge control chamber, breathing hard. Adriel walked up to him. Well, he says for you to get me out of here. All right, said Adriel, this way. He led the way to a curtain doorway, much like the one they'd used to come in. Beside it there were two dials, one marked in days and the other in hours and minutes. Monday night, good enough for you, said Adriel. Swell, said Harry. Adriel set the dials for 9:30 p.m. on Monday. So long, actor. Maybe I'll see you again sometime. So long, said Harry. He turned and stepped through the door. He was back in the garage, and there was no curtained doorway behind him. He turned to ask Adriel if he would enable him to go to bed again and do Tuesday night from the start, but Adriel was gone. The garage was a blaze of light. He glanced up at the clock. It was 15 seconds after 9:30. That was funny. Everyone should be home by now, except Slim Jim, the night man, who hung out until 4 in the morning serving up gas at the pumps outside. A quick glance around sufficed. This must be Monday night, and it was Monday night. He hadn't known. The place was filled with the little men again. Harry sat on the fender of a convertible and groaned. Now what have I got myself into? He asked himself. He could see he was at a different place in time from the one in which he had met Adriel. They had been working with a precision and nicety that was a pleasure to watch, but here the little men were different. In the first place, they were tired, looking sick, slow. There were scores of overseers about, and Harry winced when one of the little fellows came when one of the men in white lashed out with a long whip. As the Wednesday crew worked, so the Monday gang slaved, and the work they were down was different. From here they were breaking down, breaking up, carting away. Before his eyes, Harry saw sections of paving lift up, pulverized, toted away by the sackload by liners of trudging, brown-beaten little men. He saw great beams upended to support the roof, while bricks were pried out of the walls. He heard the gangs walking on the roof, saw patches of roofing tore away. He saw walls and roof both melt away under the driving onslaught. And before he knew what was happening, he was standing alone on the section of dead white plain he had noticed before on the corner lot. It was too much for his overburdened mind. He ran out into the night, breaking through lines of laden slaves through night and growing piles of rubble, screaming for Adriel. He ran for a long time and finally dropped down behind a stack of lumber out where the Unitarian church used to be. Dropped because he could go no further. He heard footsteps and tried to make himself smaller. They came on steadily. One of the overseers ran in the corner and stood looking at him. Harry was in deep shadow, but he knew the man in white could see in the dark. Come out of here, grated the man. Harry came out. You're the guy yelling for Adriel. Harry nodded. What makes you think you'll find Adriel in limbo? Sneered his captor. Who are you, anyway? Harry had learned by this time. I'm an actor, he said in a small voice. I've got into Wednesday by mistake, and they sent me back here. What for? Why, I guess it was a mistake, that's all. The man stepped forward and grabbed Harry by the collar. as a hydraulic jack. Don't give me no guff power, said the man. Nobody gets sent to limbo by mistake, or if he didn't do something up there to make him deserve it. Come clean now. I didn't do nothing, Harry wailed. I asked them the way back, and they showed me a door. I went through it and came here. That's all I know. Stop it, you're choking me. The man dropped him suddenly. Listen, babe, you know who I am. Hey, shook his head. Oh, you don't? Well, I'm Gora. Yeah, Harry said, not being able to think of anything else at the moment. Gora puffed out his chest and appeared to be waiting for something more from Harry. When nothing came, he walked up to the mechanic, breathed in his face. Aren't you scared, huh, tough guy? Then I've heard of Gora's supervisor. Of Limbo, and the roughest, toughest son of a devil from incidents to attorney, huh? Now Harry was a peaceful man, but if there was anything he hated, it was to have a stranger breathe his bad breath pungently at him. Before he knew what happened, Gora was sprawled 8 feet away, and Harry was standing alone, rubbing his left knuckles, quite more surprised than the two. Gora sat up, feeling his face. Why, you hit me, he roared. He got up and came over to Harry. You hit me, he said softly, his voice slightly out of focus in amazement. Harry wished he was in bed or in future or dead or something. Gora reached out with a heavy fist and patted him on the shoulder. Hey, he said, suddenly friendly. You're alright, huh? Took a poke at me, didn't you? Be damned, first time in a month of Mondays. Anyone else made a pass at me? Last was a fella named Orton. I killed him. Harry paled. Gora leaned back against the lumbar pile. Damn if I didn't enjoy that fella. Yeah, this is a hell of a job they panned off to me. But what can you do? Breaking down. No sooner you get through one job, working top speed, driving the boys till they bleed, then they give you the devil for nothing halfway through another job. You think I've been seen in the business long enough to know what it's all about? After more than 820 million acts, wouldn't you, huh? Try to tell them that. Ship a load of doghouse up to Wednesday, sneak you past backstage, nice as you please. You turn around and call me up. What's the matter with you, Gora? Them doghouses is no good. They sent you a list of worn-out items 2 acts ago. One of the items was doghouses. Snap out of it or send someone back there who can read and put you on the tote line. That's what I get. Act in, act out. Does it any good to them? Then my aide got the message and dropped dead before he got it to me, huh? No, huh? If I say anything about that, they tell me to stop working on death. If I do that, they'll kick my shipments. Don't come fast enough. He paused for breath. Harry had a punch that he kept Gora in a good mood. It might benefit him, he asked. What's your job anyway? Job? How to call this a job? Tearing down the set, shipping what's good to the act before next, junking the rest, he snorted. Harry asked, You mean they use the same props over again? That's right, they don't last though. 6, 8 acts maybe. Then they gotta build new ones and weather them and knock them around to make them look like they've been used. There was silence for a time. Gora, having got his bit of this off his chest for the first time in literally ages, was feeling pacified. Harry didn't know how to feel. He finally broke the ice. Hey Gora, how am I going to get back to the play? What's it to me? How you? Oh, that's right, you walked in front of the control room. Oh, that's it. Harry nodded. How? Growled Gora. Did you get into the control room? Adriel brought me. Then what? Well, I went to the producer and... The producer? Holy, you mean you walked right in? And Gora mopped his brow. What did he say? Why, he said he guessed it wasn't my fault that I woke up on Wednesday. He said to tell Idril to ship me back. Idril threw you back to Monday. And Gora threw back his shaggy head and nodded. What's funny? Asked Harold, a little peeved. Idril, said Gora, do you realize that I've been trying for 50,000 acts or more to get something on that pretty old hill? He drops you right in my lap. Pow, I can't thank you enough. He was supposed to send you back into the play, and instead, oh, that he wind you up yesterday. Why, I blackmail him till the end of time. He rolled and called to a group of bedraggled little men who were staggering under a corner step on their way to the junkyard. "Take it easy, boys," he called. "I got old Idril by the short hair. No more busting backs, no more snorting messages. How, ha." Harry looked a little amazed at all of this, put in a timid word. "Hey, Gura, what about me?" Gura turned to you. "Oh, telephone." At this shout, two little workers, a trifle less bedraggled than the rest, trotted up. One hobbled up, perched on Gura's right shoulder. The other draped himself over the left, with its head forward. Gura grabbed the lad by the neck, brought the man's head closer, and shouted into his ear, "Give me a drill." There was a moment wait, and then the little man on the other shoulder spoke in a voice into Gura's ear. "Well, hiya, fancy pants." "Fancy, I beg your pardon. Who is this?" "It's Gura, your futuristic parasite. I've got a couple things to tell you." "Gura, how dare you talk to me like that? You'll have me in your job if I tell all I know. You're a wart on the nose of progress, Idril." "What is the meaning of this?" "The meaning of this is that you had instructions sent to you by the producer and you muffed them. You had an actor here, don't you? He saw the boss, didn't he? Told you to be sent back, didn't he? Sent him right over to me instead of the play, didn't you, you slippery? You're slipping, Idril. Getting old. Well, get off the wire. I'm calling the boss right now." "The boss? Oh, don't do that, old man. Look, let's talk this thing over, huh? About the shipment of three-legged dogs I was wanting you to round up for me. I guess I can do without them. Any little favour I can do, or you'll damn well do after this, you better Goldilocks." Snort knocked the two small heads together, breaking the connection, probably the heads, and grinning to Harry. "You see," he explained, "that Idril fella is a good damn supervisor, but he's a stickler for detail. He sends people to Lindo for the silliest little mistakes. He never forgives anyone, and he never forgets to slip. He's the cause of half the misery back here with his hurrying up orders. Now things are going to be different. The boss has wanted to give Idril a dose of his own medicine for a long time now, but Harry never gave him a chance." Harry asked patiently, "About me getting back now, my friend?" Idril bellowed. He delved into a pocket and pulled out a watch like Idril's. "It's 11:42 on Tuesday," he said. "We'll shoot you back there now. You have to dope out your own reasoning for disappearing. Don't spill too much, or a lot of people will for it. You the most. Ready?" Harry nodded. Gura slapped up a hand and opened the curtain to nothingness. "You find yourself quite a ways from where you started," he said. "'Cause you did a little movie around here. Go ahead." "Thanks," said Harry. Gura laughed. "Don't thank me, chum. You rate all the thanks. Hey, if after you kick off you don't make out so good up there, let them toss you over to me. You'll be treated good. You're on my word of it. Beat it. Luck." Nodding his breath, Harry right stepped through the doorway. He had to walk 30 blocks to the garage, and when he got there the boss was waiting for him. "Where have you been?" "Right, I lost my way." "Don't get wise. What do you think there is vacation time? Get on the spring job, damn it. We won't be finished now till tomorrow." Harry looked him straight in the eye and said, "Listen, I'll be finished tonight. I happen to know." And still grinning, he went back into the garage and took out his tools. And that was yesterday was Monday. Well, if you sleep